in 2010, coinciding with its 25th anniversary. It has become an yearly feature ever since. This forum has been instrumental in initiating the much needed dialogue between the government, shipping, and logistics communities in North India. However, due to this COVID-19 pandemic situation that is still prevalent in the country, this year's NISA Business Forum is happening on a virtual platform rather than the regular physical event, which we all definitely miss, because even I've been part of a NISA Business Forum in the past, and it's an elite crowd present in a hall with applause and with live questions and all of that. The vibe that a physical environment can create, it's definitely not possible on a Zoom platform, but let's make most out of what we have in hand. We hope that 2021 will be the year of recovery. Now that when I was logging in, we were talking about the vaccination. So it's a year of hope ahead. And hopefully NISA Business Forum will return as a physical grand event in 2022. India Steamer Agents Association was formed on the 30th of December 1985, when the containerized trade was rapidly growing in northern India hinterlands. It was against this backdrop, NISA was formed by a group of agents of some of the main container shipping lines who felt the need of an association which would address their problems with the various agencies, service providers, vendors, government authorities through a common platform. NISA and its executive members deeply thank the esteemed partners, APM Terminals, Pipavav, Container Corporation of India, Distribution Logistics Infrastructure, Adani Ports and SEZ Limited, Albatross Inland Ports, Hind Terminal Private Limited, CMA CGM Logistics Park Dadri, World's Window Group, Pristine Logistics Private Limited, International Cargo Terminal and Infrastructure by JM Baxi, DP World, PSA India, Gateway Rail Freight, India Links, and Associate Container Terminal for supporting and endorsing this initiative. So today's theme for our business forum is reshaping shipping and logistics for a post-pandemic world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the forum. I would like to invite and welcome Captain D. Mishra, President of Northern India Steamer Agents Association, to welcome and deliver his opening remarks for the day. Over to you, Captain.
Yeah, thank you, Deepa. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, business leaders, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you. I take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to the 11th edition of NISA Business Forum, which we are having on a virtual platform this year due to obvious reasons. I thank all of you for having participated in this event. Let me begin by wishing that 2021 brings to all of us fresh hope and joy that everything will be normal once again after a very turbulent 2020. At last, we can confidently see the light of the day and that the normal working is going to happen soon. It is time to return to normalcy with courage and conviction, but of course with caution. Year 2020 will be remembered as a period of historic disruption of supply chains world over. India's real gross domestic product came to its lowest ever because of the COVID-19 standstill and adversely affecting consumption and investment in the Indian economy. The logistics industry is one of the key pillars of the economy and has played a crucial role in this time. Like any other trade in logistics business, we did face a turmoil in the month of April and May last year, with everything coming to a halt. By June 2020, we were back to 60% of our earlier numbers, and in the month of July, we hit close to 90% of our pre-lockdown figures. The economy contracted by 23.9% year on year in the first quarter of 2021 and narrowed to 7.5% in the second quarter. Now with almost 0% growth rate in the third quarter, the economy is poised for a V-shaped recovery path with marginal growth in the fourth quarter. With overall impact of contraction of 7.7% for the financial year 2021, the year marked by unprecedented situation of COVID-19 pandemic. The biggest fall has been recorded in the transportation and manufacturing sector. The 15% of our agri-driven economy that support 49% employment is not impacted and continues to grow. Around 60% of the services economy is not primarily broken beyond repair and is expected to recover over time. Reduction in vessel capacity and equipment shortages related to disruption has had a major impact on the global container trade lanes. Container shipping is in the midst of a unique and unusual predicament. An unforeseen cascade of events caused by the pandemic. Currently, we are facing a worldwide container shortage crisis. Lack of containers has a ripple effect on entire supply chains, disrupting trade on a global scale. So where have the containers gone? Many are probably in the inland depots, others are piled up in ports, and the rest are probably on board the vessels on different trade lanes. The largest container shortage is experienced in Asia, but Europe also faces a deficit. As the pandemic spread out from its Asian epicenter, countries implemented lockdowns, halting economic movements and production. Many factories closed temporarily, causing large number of containers to be stopped at ports and ICDs. To stabilize costs and the erosion of ocean freight rates, carriers were forced to reduce the number of port calls. Not only did this put the brakes on import and export, it also meant empty containers were not picked up. This was especially significant for the Asian traders, as empty containers could not be moved from overseas destinations. Asia, being the first hit by the pandemic, was also the first to recover. So while China resumed exports earlier than the rest of the world, other nations were still dealing with restrictions, a reduced workforce, and minimal production. A consequence of this is that almost all of the remaining containers is in Asia headed out to Europe and North America, but those containers did not come back quickly enough. Massive workforce disruption due to coronavirus restriction in North America and Europe affected not only ports, but cargo depots all across the countries. Without adequate staffing, containers started to pile up. There was no time to clear the very large backlog of containers with limited workers before more started arriving. North America currently
Yes, Captain?
just a second.
Sure. All right.
Massive workforce disruption due to coronavirus restriction in North America and Europe affected not only ports, but cargo depots all across the countries. Without adequate staffing, containers started to pile up. There was no time to clear very large backlog of containers with limited workers before more started arriving. North America currently faces a 40% imbalance, which means that for every 100 containers that arrive, only 40 are exported. 60 out of every 100 containers continue to accumulate, which is a staggering figure, considering the China to US trade route sustains on an average of 9 lakh TEUs per month. Meanwhile, the empty equipment that is so badly needed back in Asia is scattered around depots across Europe, particularly in the UK. Even most containers are stuck in the US and other countries which are still under various measures of lockdowns. Those countries need their logistics company to go back to full steam to send those empties back into the market. A research report somewhere I have read which states that on an average, empty containers spend approximately 45 days in depots. But currently containers are lying idle the longest in Chinese and American ports between 61 and 66 days. Compounding of the shift in trade imbalances and bottlenecks is that production of new containers is also awfully low. The production rate was already down in 2019 and dropped even further last year, especially when demand fell drastically in Q1 of 2020. The scrapping of containers now exceeds the building of new ones, causing inventories to suddenly fall worldwide. If we compare the figures for the past 4 to 5 years, scrapping of containers was was at the highest last year and building of new containers was at its lowest. Hence, it will take months before more containers are built, meaning capacity likely won't normalize until quarter two of the next financial year. I don't know, probably I'm being a bit optimistic out here. This limited access to available containers is also driving up buying price of new containers since manufacturers know demand is such that they can charge at a premium. Chinese container manufacturers who dominate the market now charge around 2,500 for a new container, up from 1,600 last year. Likewise, container leasing rates have rocketed up by around 50% in a span of just 6 months. China, the world's largest producer of shipping containers, has indicated that it is ramping up production to ease the shortage. Container manufacturers there have already extended working hours to meet the production targets. Even Government of India is looking at manufacturing containers in a big way under the Atmanirbhar Bharat program. Going ahead, Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways has already set up a committee to study the feasibility of manufacturing containers at Bhavnagar. It is imperative that we cannot continue doing our things in a way that was considered normal a few months ago. Even though traditional supply chain and logistic processes work in silos, making it difficult to introduce automation, but recently a new concept of normalization has been well accepted in the logistics industry. The way that we interact with one another will change, rather has already changed. Since COVID-19 shutdown, a vast majority of the world has adapted to video calling, which has reached a new level of popularity. It is safe to assume that video conferences will replace many physical interactions, especially in light of how business travel has dramatically declined and will likely to continue in the months and years to come. Robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, and smart technologies like blockchain will be on the rise. Post-19 businesses will look for faster and more efficient ways to collaborate with customers, government agencies, trade regulators, and banks for the implementation of standard operating procedures. New age technologies like blockchain will enable businesses to create new avenues of technical and economic efficiency in processes for trade documentation and management of data, which will be governing the trade. Additionally, blockchain will operate via smart contracts, which eliminate the need for intermediaries and paper trail. Business will look to have greater control over their supply chains in the near future. Access to real-time information on the status of cargo during transit journeys are going to redefine visibility and predictability in logistics. Physical internet and augmented reality will enable truckers, freight forwarders, and customers to access visuals of cargo in real time, even as it moves from one point to another in the downstream of the supply chain, thereby making logistics more transparent and predictable than ever before. Smart packaging and use of radio frequency identification devices shall enable businesses to share information on the last mile delivery of goods and can be a major enabler of providing risk-free and safe delivery of goods. When it comes to optimizing and automatic route planning, machine learning can be a game changer. Machine learning algorithms can analyze large historical data sets and help businesses predict risk, quickly identify inefficient routes at the planning stage itself, reduce delays, and generate accurate ETAs. Theft of goods in transit is a common logistics problem across many geographies. Hence, when generating a route, an advanced supply chain and logistics management software can automatically eliminate or avoid routes that causes inefficiencies and delays. As for material handling and logistics, increased automation and smart technologies will allow distribution centers and warehouses to continue operating regardless of the state of global affairs, especially when workers are getting sick or spreading illness to one another. While it is likely that some companies may switch over to entirely dark warehouses, which are fully automated, most will still require a human element to manage the technologies. The number of people required will still be much fewer, allowing for effective social distancing and more resilient, effective, and efficient supply chain operations. Besides digitization, The other good thing to come from the forced shutdowns has been on the environment. With a lot of the world shut down, there has been less pollution, carbon emissions have decreased, and overall, the earth seems to be recovering from the years of industrialization. These positives have not gone unnoticed, and businesses will likely continue to prioritize environmentalism and sustainability in the years to come. It can be assumed that things in shipping, logistics, and transportation is going to be different. COVID-19 uncertainties indicate that the industry is resilient enough to make a relatively faster recovery and emerge stronger. The government is currently working on a national logistics policy in order to promote seamless movements of goods across the country, the implementation of which is expected to augment investment in the sector significantly. The industry today is at the cusp of technology-led solutions, infrastructure, and skilled resources, which in the forthcoming period will slow in greater efficiency in operations, thereby ensuring better quality of service and customer management. Today we have with us a very distinguished panel, and they'll be talking on different aspects. I'm sure the discussion is going to be very enlightening and even thought-provoking for all of us. Before I end, I would like to wish all of you a very happy and prosperous 2021, free of COVID-19. Thank you all.
Thank you, Captain. Those were definitely words of hope that we've all been resonating with you. Hopefully things will all be different in the coming year. Thank you so much for your very appropriate welcome address. Mr. V. Kalyanarama, Chairman and Managing Director, Container Corporation of India Limited, is supposed to deliver the keynote address today, but unfortunately, as he's tied up on an urgent meeting with the Railway Minister, he has nominated someone else to be with us, and that is none other than Mr. Sanjay Swarup, Director, International Marketing and Operations in Mr. V. Kalyanarama's place. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Swarup to this forum to deliver the keynote address. Over to Mr. Sanjay Swarup.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank NISA for giving me an opportunity to express my views. As already told by Ms. Deepa, our Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Kalyan Rama, has been called for an urgent meeting by Honorable Railway Minister. He was very keen to address the forum, but due to this reason, he could not be present here. So I am just filling in the gap for him. And I will just put forward some viewpoints related to in the present environment. And as Captain has already made my job very easier by covering most of the points. As we know that COVID-19 outbreak has had a significant impact on supply chains, forcing freight carriers to cancel, reduce, or otherwise adjust services. Ironically, the pandemic has also emphasized the key role of logistics and the importance of supporting people in this critical function. Several logistics majors have reshaped their operating models depending on the circumstances and increased efficiency and resilience. As we know, logistics is a very operationally intensive sector and needs feet on the ground. However, the current lockdown has got teams dispersed at various locations. There has been disruptions at all levels. And COVID-19 has had an impact on multiple facets of our lives, including the way we work, we conduct business, or leisure. While some of these impacts have been shifting into major trends, the underlying technology transformation has been significantly accelerated. Now the emphasis is more on digital. We should go digital. So digital transformation is the need of the hour for all startups to cope with the current situation. While this disruption has highlighted several gaps in the existing operating models, it also provides an opportunity to build more resilience in the system. This is where companies should strategize, build, and grow in these times of adversity. In the near term, companies should focus on diversifying the supply chain and leveraging new opportunities arising from changing customer demands, because at the end of the day, customer is the king. Over the long term, it is important to internally adapt to new technologies that support workplace and operational continuity to have a smoother transformation during recovery. Now it is the time to take the lesson and move forward. We must focus on adopting corrective measures going forward. The world now needs to develop a system which is more effective and transparent to prevent and tackle the spread of any future pandemic-like situation. Our system should become more and more resilient. This would require us to drive a positive outlook and enhance global cooperation. Now, as we know, because of the COVID, the system has become, there is a lot of emphasis on contactless working. So the need of the hour for the companies is that they should have a transition from having the role of service provider to tech-enabled supply chain knowledge partner. They should become tech-enabled supply chain knowledge partner to their customers instead of being just a service provider. So even in our company, Concor, we encourage our employees to become a problem solver of our customers rather than just giving a service to them or meeting their demands. They should move 2 steps forward. Whatever their problems are there, if they encounter, they should solve the problems, listen to them patiently and try to solve the problems. So during this COVID time, uh, government of India has given a lot of support in the logistics sector, and which is evident. And now, as we all know, that from September onwards, we are seeing a surge in our volumes in imports, exports, and domestic in all sectors. So government of India has allowed in between free movement of empty containers, free movement of empty flat wagons, which was a very big support to the container sector. Then there was a shortage of equipment, as Captain Mishra has already pointed out in his address. The container equipment shortage is being, experienced by shippers all over the world, especially in India also. And rice this year is a major commodity which is being exported. So in this, endeavor, we in Concord have come forward and we have offered our containers to export rice to Iran. And I'm happy to share this forum that already around 450 containers stuffed with rice we have exported to Iran. And more, as per demand, we are deploying more and more containers. And for this, we've received appreciation from our ministry. And customers are also very happy that at least they are able to tide over the problem of shortage of equipment. Then we have helped the Chennai port and Jawaharlal Nehru port decongest during the COVID time by with the help of customs and government of India port, that is both the ports. They declared our 2 facilities at the extended gate of the ports at Tondiarpet near Chennai port and at New Mulund near JNPT. And I am happy to inform this August House that we evacuated approximately 21,000 TEUs of containers at both the ports combined at JNPT and Chennai. So that helped to maintain the fluidity of both the port terminals, and so that they could receive imports and exports. Fluidity was maintained and delivery was taken from our extended gates. This was a very, very welcome move by our trade. Then our company is focusing on first mile, last mile, and logistics services to our customers. And there is a lot of emphasis on warehousing, which we are, focusing on in our company. Then we have actually all our terminals have been made KYCL compliant. KYCL means know your container location, which gives a continuous cargo visibility to all our customers. Whenever a container is there on our system, at the press of a button, customer can know that what is the precise location at which the container is there at present. Plus, we are very soon we will be developing AI-based terminal management system in which customer can track his cargo. Where is the cargo in the warehouse? At what stage it is there? Has it been unloaded? Has it been stuffed in the container? Has it been custom cleared? Everything he can see on his mobile in the form of a picture. So we believe that when a customer has given his cargo to us, then he has reposed a trust in us that we are the custodian of his cargo. So he has every right to see the cargo, view the cargo, that it is intact at every stage of his cargo movement in our system. So based on that, we are working on a mission area to give a continuous cargo visibility to our customer. Anywhere in the world, he can just see it. He doesn't have to be present in the same city or same country. Then we, through our web portal and mobile app, we have given a lot of access to our customers, and they are very happy that at the click of a button, they can see various parameters of their cargo. So I'm happy to inform, as all of you know, that all these steps and the steps taken by Government of India, there has been 22% growth in the last 6 months as compared to the previous 6 months. As we know, in the first quarter, the things were pretty bad, very challenging, I should say. But all the terminals were working 24/7. They did not stop working even for a single hour. We were giving continuous service to our customers. And from September 2020 onwards, there has been a rebound, and we have experienced a growth of around 22% in our output, which I must say is quite commendable and shows the resilience of the trade and the faith that system has on our capabilities. I will not take much time because there is a very, very distinguished panel which is waiting next. Just I will end my speech by I was glancing through one report of McKinsey, which is entitled Brave New World. I thought it will be very, very in context for this seminar. Customers no longer just seek transport capacity between two locations and out of sight, out of mind orchestration. They expect guaranteed delivery at a specific time and transparency of their cargo at every stage in the process, all at a lower door-to-door price as compared to yesterday. They expect a high degree of reliability, transparency, and user-friendliness. Companies that can't supply this, they will have to suffer, they will lose market share to the companies which give these things. So I will end with there are 6 ways in which value could potentially be improved in container transport over the next 25 years. First is greater economies of scale. Second is flexibility in operations. Third is supply chain reliability and integration. Fourth is predictability on consolidation. Fifth is automation and productivity. And last is environmental performance, for which Captain Mishra has amply highlighted. Environment is very, very important. This is what we are living in, and we have to pass on to our future generations. So with this, I would like to end my speech. I will give best wishes to the distinguished panel, and I am very, very hopeful that something very fruitful will come out of the discussions in the end, and we all will benefit from that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Swaroop. It was an absolute pleasure having you with us. Somebody like him who's had such a huge experience, like Mr. Swaroop joined the Indian Railway Traffic Service in 1990 and served the Indian Railways in various roles before joining with Concor. Earlier, I think, so you had also worked with ICDs at Tughlakabad, Dadri and Pithampur.
Yes.
So yes, it's absolute pleasure to have you with us. Yes, it is a fact that we did miss Mr. V. Kalyanarama's words, but thank you for so much for standing in on his behalf.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So we do have a lot of comments coming in requesting, appreciating the efforts of NISA, Mr. Umesh Grover, to everyone. And thank you, Captain Mishra, for hosting webinar on such a relevant subject. From Jacob Fries has commented, appreciate Concor and Government of India in providing free MT positioning during the crisis. So there is a lot of encouraging comments coming in. I request the participants to send in your queries on private chat to Mr. Sridhar Subramaniam, who is Secretary of NISA, indicating to whom these questions are directed to, and they will be answered by the respective panelists. All right. On that note, let's move on. Once again, welcome all of you to NISA Business Forum 2021, organized by Northern India Steamer Agents Association and powered by India Sea Trade. So I'm going to be introducing the panelists. Due to the time constraints that we have right now, I really seek your attention, and I seek apologies from all of you for not being able to read out the full profiles of the speakers. All of them are very much acknowledged professionals and seniors in the industry, and I'm sure everyone knows your acknowledgements, but due to time constraints, we'll not be reading out the entire profile. We deeply regret this inconvenience. If any of the participants would like to have the full profiles of the speakers, please do get in touch with NISA Secretariat, as we have their professional profiles with us, and we can definitely share it with you anytime. All right. I request all the panelists to kindly switch on their videos so that we can get to see all the panelists in one frame. And that's going to be really, if we were in a hall, that would have really been a moment to be captured on a photograph. But right now, virtually, I request all of you to please turn on your video so that we can see all of you in one frame. All the panelists, please. All right, I'm just going to be introducing them. To begin with, the panel session, Reshaping Shipping and Logistics for a Post-Pandemic World. I would like to invite our esteemed panelists, Mrs. Liji Noel, Managing Director, Odex India Solutions Private Limited. Liji Noel is the founder and managing director of Odex, which was founded in 2015. She has over 2 decades of experience in business strategy, marketing, research, and sales. Prior to Odex, she also co-founded Esfera and Asta, a software solutions firm focused on IoT and WFM products. Welcome, ma'am. I hope everyone can see this.
Pleasure being here.
We also have with us Mr. Jacob Fries Sorensen, Managing Director, APM Terminal Pipavav. Mr. Jacob Fries Sorensen has taken charge as the Managing Director of APM Terminals Pipavav in January 2020. Having started his career in AP Mola Maersk Group in 1987, he has held various positions in shipping and logistic industries in countries like Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, and India. Welcome, Mr. Jacob Fries Sorensen. I hope all of us can see him on screen as well. Mr. Vivek Kele.
I'm very impressed that you pronounced my name perfectly, Deepa.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Mr. Vivek Kele, Director, Team Global Logistics Private Limited. Vivek Kele founder of Team Global Logistics in 2005 and has expanded to 18 offices across India, Bangladesh, and East Africa. He has been a distinguished speaker at various conferences and forums organized by the government as well as trade bodies. It's an absolute pleasure having him with us, Mr. Vivek Kele. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Mr. Shashi Nair, Vice President of NISA, and works with CMA CGM Agencies India Private Limited. Mr. Shashi Nair is currently the Senior Area General Manager, North India region in the CMA CGM Group. He has spent more than 27 years in the shipping industry, most of it with CMA CGM. Prior to that, he was with Transworld Group of Companies. Mr. Shashi Nair, welcome to the discussion. Mr. Ramakrishna N, Vice President, DP World. He has 24 years of national and international experience in shipping, multimodal logistics and infrastructure industry, and has worked with APL, MSC, JM Bhakti Group, Gateway Rail, and Crypco Infrastructure. Welcome, Mr. Ramakrishna, and welcome to this discussion. So these are our esteemed panelists. We have someone with us to moderate the session, and now it's time to invite him. We have Mr. Neelkant Gumala, EC, member of NISA, is here today to set the tone of the discussion and moderate the session. Neelkant Gumala is working with the Hyundai Merchant Marine as General Manager for North India. He's been in the shipping industry for over 3 decades now and has been associated earlier with renowned carriers like Hapag-Lloyd, PIL, PNO, CSAV, to name a few. Well, so I'm handing this over to Mr. Neelkant Gumala. I shall also request the participants once again, as I said a while ago, to send in your queries on private chat to Mr. Sridhar Subramanian, Secretary NISA, indicating to whom the question is directed to so that he can take it up and it can be answered during the session. All right. I hope all of you have a great session ahead and the session is fruitful. Over to Mr. Neelkant. Sir, the floor is over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepa. And indeed, you've got Jacob's name correctly, and you managed to get even mine correctly. Usually people do make pronunciation mistakes in my name as well. But thanks a lot. Well, gentlemen, we have indeed a very, very distinguished panel that has already been introduced to you. It has been a very, very, a unique year for everyone, 2020. We do not know whether we should remember it or forget about it. But I think the shipping industry per se would have more reasons to remember it than to forget about it. There were opportunities, and did we grab it? I think most of the industry related to shipping and logistics had a fairly good year, unexpectedly so. It was not looking so when it all began, but over a period of time, it turned out to be a good year indeed. And I'm sure the terminals, the rail operators, everybody else in the support system, the consolidators, they all have benefited from it. Globally, there was a meltdown. Industries were closing, jobs were being lost, there was a flight of labor. In all this scenario, where it was looking like doomsday and gloom, something clicked for the shipping and logistics industry. And it came out pretty triumphant, if I may say so. There is the old adage, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Was it indeed an opportunity, or was it indeed an advantage that the industry managed to take over? Or was it an opportunity that we found in a calamity situation? To discuss this and much more, we have with us this distinguished panelists, each of whom are experts in their own domain. But to get this session started, who better than the gateway for all the movements? And hence I will ask first Mr. Jacob Sorensen to come with his opening remarks, because all cargo, no matter from where, no matter how, eventually reaches the ports and the terminals. So they have the pulse on the whole trade. Mr. Jacob Sorensen.
Thank you, Gumalaji. That was a good opening. And thank you also to Captain Mishra. Thank you for the organizers from NISA. And I also want to thank Sanjay Swarup here for stepping in and indeed making a lot of the points that I wanted to say already clear. But I would like to start by saying that in PIPAVAF, what we did when the crisis hit, that was really the first thing that was on our mind was how do we keep our people safe? I believe it was in March, on the 25th of March in the evening, that the Prime Minister spoke and locked down India. And I was actually very privileged to be in the port at that time. And obviously all the sudden travel plans and so on were out of the window, but it was really a blessing in disguise to be on site. And we spent the most of that night and up till 4:00 a.m. in the morning in invoking our contingency plans. And that was including PPEs, how do we keep our people safe, how do we operate, and we had an APL vessel that was going to berth and we had to anchor her. And I think she got 6 hours delayed. That was it. 6 hours delayed, and then we were basically operating. And we have operated in PIPAVAF uninterrupted, continuously, and thankfully also we did not have the challenges that other terminals and ports faced in regards to the lack of drivers or labor going away in confusion. I think partly because we did, as I said, we made people feel safe. We really gained people's trust that we would take care of their safety, their health, and indeed their food and accommodation, etc. So that was one thing which we did, which I'm very proud of. The other thing is the nature of PIPAVAF. Yes, we are at the coastline, obviously in Saurashtra, but we are linked by PRCL, and we have good rail connectivity. So as also was mentioned, Concor was doing a tremendous job during the crisis with supporting empty positioning, but they were running all the time, Concor and also the other rail operators. So I think thanks to the fact that we are linked by rail, it kept us going and it kept the trains running. And in fact, we had several records of, I think it was Ajay Vermaji, he's here, and I think 293 double-stacked trains we did in the month of May. Amazing records were broken in 2020. So you're right, maybe it's not a year to forget, it's a year to remember, but certainly also a year to learn from. So how do we then move on? I think I'm very encouraged as well for what we know now and how we got out of 2020, and also a lot of tasks are ahead of us. So not to repeat what was said in the beginning, but it's clear that warehouse shortage is a fact. So we are working on right now to develop a multimodal distripark in the vicinity of Pipavav to support transloading and warehousing facilities. Another thing that we need to look at much more, and I keep smiling about this because we're in India, and India is the world's biggest IT savvy nation. And yet we have still so many things we can do in the IT business. So digitalizations, in fact, I was proud of the customs team in Pipavav because they actually worked from home. We sent them lunch packages and they worked 24/7 online. Wow, that was another a good achievement. And of course, we want them to continue to do so. We're looking at also expanding our fertilizer shed and just to keep the environment safe as well. When we do this expansion for the fertilizer, it's coming in bulk and then we containerize and it's evacuated by rail mostly. But we are putting up a solar plant on the roof to make sure that indeed we have green energy from that side. We're working on the seaside in support of Sagamala. We are trying to push a ro-ro ferry between Pipavav and Hazira, and that is as well to try to get trucks off the road. And let me be the first person, I think, in this seminar to mention it. The DFC, the dedicated freight corridor, is coming, and I'm very much convinced that that is a game changer because the DFC will enable us to facilitate companies to have a much better and reliable supply chain, to get a much better overview. I predict that we will have scheduled trains with scheduled arrivals and departures in maybe 2021. And I think that this is going to be a driver. Get the cargo from the roads. Of course, the trucks are the last mile and the first mile maybe, but get cargo from the roads on the long hauls and get it on rail, and let's take full advantage of the fantastic tenfold increase in the rail capacity on the railway tracks. It's double stack, it's double track, it's double length, it's double speed, and it's more weight as well in the equipment. So it's simply a revolution that's happening. And we are very privileged in Gujarat that we can take full advantage of that from basically, I don't know if Sanjay is still here, but whether we could ask whether it's going to be from next month. We are doing our part in Pipavav, electrifying our rail connectivity. And I'm quite encouraged by, as I said, the opportunities that this is going to give us. And not least also because it's electrified. And I do believe that taking the trucks away from the road and getting the cargo on the rail is going to be a good environmental footprint as well. So I have another few things that I would like to share with you in terms of our activities, but in Pipavav, there's never a dull moment, and we are full speed ahead in 2021, also enjoying the volume surge that you are talking about. And I would like to stop here for now and give some time to other panelists, but again, hopefully leaving you for now with a quite positive outlook for 2021.
Thank you, Jacob. Just a little bit, do you see the changes that you have made, considering the scenario or the situation that 2020 had put before you, to continue in the coming years, or would it be back to normal as we go along?
I think there's this expression of new normal, right? And what we are shaping now, and this is the way we are probably going to meet a lot more in the future. I do hope we can meet in person in Delhi next year, perhaps. But the way we work, taking more advantage of the technology, the way we operate is definitely going to change. And as was said, I think fundamentally the visibility of the supply chain, the nice quote that Sanjay just gave us, that's absolutely true. I believe that the companies are going to go away from the ultimate speed of the supply chain. It's going to be the predictability and the reliability of people's supply chains. It's also because I think more permanently the buying patterns, and you mentioned this is the disruption that's happening right now because of a lack of containers. It's obvious that there's a lack of warehousing, wherefore the containers end up to be warehouses temporarily. But I do think that companies want to know where is their goods, where is their inventory anywhere in the supply chain, and customers are changing the way they behave. A lot of people have not been able to go on ski holidays. They have not been able to go to restaurants. And what did they do? They sat at home using the internet, and they bought a lot of goods online. It has really been a significant shift in the consumer behaviors. That's maybe going to balance out a little bit. But let me say, I think we are entering a new era, and it will be something we look back on, that 2020 was when, I won't say it was the year the light bulb was invented, but it is going to be looking back in history, it is going to be a remarkable change.
We seem to have lost contact.
Yes, you can continue with others.
Yeah. Okay, I think we will, probably Jacob will join back. Maybe he's having some challenges with the connectivity issues, etc. Coming up next, I mean, following suit with what Jacob was doing, being the man who receives all the cargo, eventually from various locations whatsoever, but to supply them and to make it possible. Until a few years ago, who would have thought that you could have a dry port and things like that? These are concepts which has evolved over a period of time where everything is close to one another. There's no distance which is a big distance anymore. And to feed to the ports, the train operators have done a tremendous job. I think it was a game changer, and the ICDs evolved almost all over the country. And the dependency on the rail operators has been so much and so fruitful. Jacob is back. Has been so fruitful that everything is now close to the port. The distances do not matter. To give us a perspective on the way the train operators have had to face the situation in 2020, they've had their hands full. How have they handled it? How do they see things going forward? We have with us Mr. Ramakrishna. Rama, over to you. You're on mute, Rama. Unmute yours.
The usual problem.
Yes.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks. A very good evening to all NISA members and my fellow panelists, distinguished guests, and my dear friends. It's nice to be among with you after a long time, even though we've been talking to each other or the phone, but this is the first virtual gathering webinar in which our fraternity are here. We've been here and there. I congratulate NISA for organizing this NISA Business Forum webinar, which again is a testimony of NISA's commitment to the trade. And this is a new age, I guess, a new invention. This is what the pandemic is brought in. So I've been listening to Captain and also what Sanjay said. But I start with a very, because I was writing what the pandemic did and what we did. But I remember Winston Churchill's quote, never waste a crisis. There are opportunities in a crisis as well. So as Neil was mentioning, that it was a fairly good area. Surprisingly, it was fairly good here for us, and we've been hands full. We've been our productivity has gone up. I'm talking on behalf of all the CTOs. The productivity has gone up so much so forth that even our rakes, they never were intended to run at those speeds. They need more maintenance. The brake pads has to be changed very frequently. So because there was no traffic on the rails, so the the human traffic, so the freight has got advantages. So before DFC, we had a dry run, I guess. So yeah, last year when COVID pandemic has struck the world, it is the second time in the world after the Second World War that the international borders have been closed. When I'm talking about except the sea routes, everything was closed. Uh, Clearly, none of the countries were prepared. We never thought that something like this would strike us with this kind of size and nature. Uh, Supply chain has gone through the biggest change in our lifetime, which we call as a new normal. Uh, in the speak of many disruptions, what we have with us was what Sanjay was mentioning about the support of the government by offering concessional periods time and again in Indian Railway tariffs, empty flats, moving of empty flats, inter-NCR movements, and helping us changing the base depots, stabling, waiving or narrowing the stabling charges, and the doubling of existing network of railways have brought in a very good efficiency. And what we as an industry were supposed to do in 3 or 4 years, we have done it, I guess, in 6 months. I mean, we've been talking about digitalization and modernization and things like that. But here it is, doing it. We are doing it practically right now. So, what things we're just picking up things. So, what we have done over this system is we have improved our connectivity, we have improved our visibility of the cargo, we've optimized the resources which we had, we processed our data well, and we automated things, and mostly we gone on cloud. We are always a close knitted. We were onto our servers, and this is the first time we are using cloud to the maximum. And what are the companies which done is they also has redefined their strategies by uh, forming an emergency management centers. They've ramped up their communications, their decision makings, their DOPs was fast and quick, and they reviewed their supplies. And basically, what the companies have done is we observed that they found newer ways, newer vendors, newer suppliers, not going to the traditional suppliers. It was not the cost because they knew that the payment terms and all has to be negotiated. So they have found new and maybe have revisited their old vendors, and yeah, and they've reduced their SKUs, which is stock keeping units, and that's their plan of recovery. So the overall maritime industry has done it 4.1%, and the trade pundits are now talking about recovery rate of 4.7%. That's an increase of 7%. Even though we are talking about an innovative ways like 20 feet or 40 feet imbalance. And the innovation which happened is Sanjay was talking about rice. For the first time, rice is being stuffed in 40 feet containers. That's a new thing. That's an acceptable thing which was earlier not happening. So these are the few things, and DFC again is a game changer. Everybody knows it, and what it would do for especially in the hinterlands, and especially to the fraternity overall, would be there will be a long distance reduced rates and efficiency, thus allowing all the container train operators to offer better freights on a double stack and on a longer haul. Two, we would invest more into the rolling stock. We will have more, capex to put into the rolling stock, and also to the terminals, and the efficiency which will increase. Overall, we as country, we would be competing with the likes of Western countries like US, Japan, and Germany on the logistics index, where we are having we are 13 in number right now from a 32. That's a huge jump. And again, when this happens, as a India as a nation, which spends 60% on transportation, the cost of the goods is 60%. When it reduces, when we can find ways and means of reducing this cost, that's where the FDI would flow in into this country, and India would look lucrative, and that's where the FDI would come in. Yet, and then ultimately the customers would gain for it. So the Eastern Corridor is 51% complete, and the Western Corridor is 33% complete. We are talking about starting it from June 2022. For the first time, the railway budget had a mention about DFCs, and as I said, any effort in reduction of logistics costs will help with nation building, GDP growth, and again, it favored for the investment. So greater axle loads from a current 25 tons to a 32.5 uh, ton axle load would create a lot of value for people who would be thinking what would be DFC would bring in, whether it would be a reduced cost, how much I don't know, but yes, there will be a reduction since the turnaround time and timetable trains will be there. There will be a reduction of these things. Gone are the days when we're talking about only a double stack. We're talking about going forward. We're talking about Python trains. We're talking about freight villages versus multi-modal logistics parks. And we are instead of the JIT concept, we are talking in just in case concept right now, because just in case effectiveness and preparedness is the key and mantra as of now. And I would also state that the advantage of DFC lies, as I said, in a heavy duty haulage of freight, and taking advantage of it. The B2B services are much, much more important, and the ports has to also get up. A Python train with 180 containers or 360 containers, we are our ports ready. Are our ports ready? So that's where my worry is that yes, once the system is ready, the port also has to augment their this thing, whether you create a separate facility for the waiting bays for these containers, whether it is DPD or DPE, whether it's direct port entry. There was a worry that when the DPE came in, what will happen to the hinterlands, whether it is shipping lines or whether it is CTOs who are sitting there. But DPE and DPD also, where CTOs, we really are howling a lot of DPD and DPE as well. So no worries about that at all, whether it is cleared in the hinterland or whether it is cleared at the port, as long as we are able to haul it. So there's a lot of opportunity out here, and government has opened up again an IMC. That means that they're opening up more CFS and AFSs as well on the DMIC route. So there's more opportunity. And when the truckers were down, as Neil, thank you for complimenting us. We as CTOs have really worked hard, and we tried our level best to efficiently bring in. There was no dependency at the ports. We cleared them within the stipulated time. As I said, we have increased our efficiency double time, and yes, we after a long time since we came into the arena, we have seen bright days. So as I said, not a bad year, not a bad year. Having to repeat what we've done in 2020, but yes, what the government and what the fraternity has been saying for years, it happened really in terms of digitalization. Look, the way we are communicating today, and look the way we are operating. Right from I need to compliment the Indian government, the customs, CBIC board, who made things easy for both at the ports and also the ICDs. When the need is there for the invention comes when there is a need. So I guess over in and out, it was a great year, and many things to come. And DFC, of course, is a game changer. Looking forward, and a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me here. Now you're on mute, Neil.
Okay, I think I'm now doing the mess now.
Yeah.
Habits pass on, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I quite liked your very, very modest comment, Rama. Not a bad year at all. You know, in fact, you sounded almost being apologetic for it, I think.
In fact, Neil, I always that was the thing. When I used to go stroll with my mask on, everybody was talking about doomsday and everything, and I was the one. I was quiet, and I don't know what to see. Then I would say, "Hey, here's the guy. We are the guys who are bringing in milk, groceries for you. So rather, you give me respect. We are the one who are doing the essential commodity kind of thing." And the popular thing in the whole of the 2020 that you are on mute. So this was a famous dog.
Okay, thanks, Rama. Jacob, you had got disconnected in the middle of your address. Is there something that you would like to come back to, or we connect again later?
Yeah, I have a little bit unstable internet here in Jakarta. There's a thunderstorm going over us at the moment. But no, let's go back again. Thank you, Rama. Also, good points from you. You sound almost like a Danish farmer when you say, it's not too bad a year.
Okay, Jacob, I think then we'll come back to you again as we get along. There is this, that some of the best things come in small packages. And most often you tend to ignore the small packages, but there are some very, very shrewd and smart operators who know how to capitalize on small packages. The aggregators. In shipping, we have the old timer, the consolidator. The aggregator is a term which has now caught the mind of everybody's, the attention of everyone. But in shipping, we've had this consolidator doing random business, phenomenal business, and a very supportive business to the industry for many, many years now. We have with us a stalwart in that industry, Mr. Vivek Kele. Tell us, how has the consolidation business been in 2020, and how do you see it evolving in the years to come? I think he's now. Vivek, I think, has. Okay. Yeah, okay. Vivek, you're back? Vivek, can you hear us? You're mute, unmute.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Neil. I have a very unstable internet connection.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vivek, perhaps switch off your camera. That might give you a little bandwidth.
Yeah, that might help better. Okay, I think we'll have to.
Yes, better move on to the next speaker until he comes back.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. Unfortunate. Just as I introduced him and he was getting ready to speak, I think we've lost him. Anyway, before I proceed further, I was just thinking that perhaps the most dynamic operator in this entire scheme of things is the digital world, the kind of digital support that is provided, whether it is for the shipping industry, whether it is for the ports, the rail operators, or the consolidators, or even for the importer and exporter. And I think the contribution of ODEX in this whole gamut of things today to the shipping industry and logistics has been phenomenal. an almost a monopolistic kind of a situation they're enjoying at the moment, if I may dare to say so. Liji, please tell us a little bit about how things have evolved for you in 2020 and what do you see going forward? Unmute, Liji.
I just was saying to myself, oh, this is going to happen to me too. And that would be the best part, that you have a technology operator who's always on mute. And so Gumalaji was saying that it's almost a monopolistic operation. I hope nobody recorded that. That is. But yes, I mean, it's been a strange year, actually. I mean, so I heard Rama and I heard Yekab and salute. I mean, that is, you have kept us going as a nation. We are, and if I may speak on behalf of everybody else who has not been able to contribute to essential services, we are deeply, deeply grateful. The last 11 months was a mixed bag of affairs. I mean, we've lost colleagues, we've lost family members, and we've seen the pandemic come home. I remember on 17th of March, I told my team that we need to move everyone home. It's not going to work this way. Don't come to office. And sometimes I'm the only woman on the panel, so I can say this probably proudly. And maybe you can go home and tell your wives that there was this one woman who talks about this woman's instinct. Something told me, this is just not what we are seeing. And you read the reports and you're talking about people going work from home. And my first question was that, what do we do for our people? Because we are based out of Mumbai, we have crowded local trains. I have people who travel from all parts of the suburban Mumbai. The risk, my first thought was actually in 2020 that the risk of traveling to office has become a risk of life. We have this joke in Mumbai that every day that you go to work in a train, you're risking your life. But we never thought of that. But in March 2020, that was my first thought. It's so strange. I have traveled in local trains all my lives. Do you want to take a car to Andheri? Not really. I will get onto a metro from Ghatkopar. I mean, that's the thinking that you have developed staying in a city like Mumbai. And then suddenly you are wondering, is the guy next to me sneezing? Is he coughing? And we are so used to this. So the first thing that was for me the priority, and I think Jakob mentioned that people are the priority. We said that irrespective of how business goes, business can go south, business can be rebuilt, everything can happen, but my people have to be safe. Then the second thing came in, my people are safe, but I have customers who are moving essential goods. So we started receiving calls actually from custom brokers, from forwarders. Like why I say that is strange is because this was an industry that we kept, short of begging, I have done everything else, saying that why don't you digitize? But here we had this strange situation where there were no containers coming into the country. April and May was a really bad time, but you still had problems clearing a container because shipping lines could not issue an invoice on time. They could not release their delivery orders on time. Everybody was pulling, 16 hours, 24 hours. I have heard stories of the way shipping lines had to revamp their infrastructure. Port terminal operators had to have everybody operate 48 hours at a stretch. Shashi sir is here from CMA. He's probably seen his team work round the clock. You, Gumalaji at HMM. I've seen the way HMM staff has worked in Mumbai. The question was, how do we help our customers? We had the infrastructure to go digital. But what we realized is that it is not about our infrastructure. It is about the customer's infrastructure. So we actually, during the months of March, April, and May, we were just being consultants to the industry. We knew that there was no business happening. If there is no documentation, no payments, Codex doesn't get any business. But what we knew is this was the time to get it right for all our customers. So how do you do small things like find them a good network operator, teach people this word, failover. And failovers are needed at home. You're talking about people in customer service, you're talking about people in accounts who cannot continue to operate with just one Wi-Fi connection. So these are the small things. And Gumalaji was talking about small things in terms of a consolidator. We work with even smaller things, ones and zeros. And for us, the biggest challenge was, what kind of advice do we give our customers? We can train them on Odix. We can give them free documentation, free payments. We can do a lot of things free, but we realized that that's not enough. We have had, my customer service people call up our customers and say that here is the number of the network operator in your area. Find out if you can get an Airtel failover or a Jio failover. That's the only way to stay connected. And this is what we did throughout April and May, where we said that we need to ensure that our customers are first and foremost online. 2020 was, I would say, a very good year for Odix. Not necessarily in terms of revenue numbers. The revenue numbers probably look very similar to what they were the year before. But we have always had this question, who drives change in your organization, especially the digital transformation. And I saw this cartoon going around, this meme going around, if I were to use my son's language, which said that, what changed in 2020? The digital transformation was bought by COVID, not by the CTO or the CEO or the chairman. It was simply the pandemic that brought the transformation. What saddens me sometimes is that when people say that we've gone digital, what they mean is that they can use virtual conferencing and all their people can log on to the ERP system from home. But that's not digitization. And when we say that's not digitization, it means that there is so much that 2020 has taught us, that people can find it difficult to work from home because, like I have taken over my son's study practically almost every day for the past 11 months. He's been thrown out of here and I've taken it over. So this is how families work, but then you're together all the while. So what do? There are so many things that can be done digitally, especially in shipping today, right from booking to order fulfillment. The entire process can be digitized. And it doesn't mean that it impacts people. What it does is it reduces the burden of the day-to-day emails, phone calls, fax and telex that we still have in shipping. So when somebody says that we have gone digital, my first question is, tell me, what have you invested in? Standard answers are a better server. And then I say, okay, what else? We have upgraded our ERP. What else? We provided Wi-Fi to our people, and that's about it. And then I asked them, did you see this as an opportunity to take this further? Act on your customer-facing portals or act on your vendor-facing portals, where the entire customer experience can go digital. So I think Shashi sir is experiencing a network issue now, but I've seen this with a couple of, in fact, a lot of the shipping lines at the port terminals who have used this as an opportunity to go digital, where the entire customer experience from booking to container pickup to release of the BL has gone up. Some statistics that I have seen personally from the shipping lines that we interact with, I've seen that Seaway BLs have gone up drastically. My question has been, has trust suddenly increased in the world? The answer seems to be yes, because we are all in the midst of a pandemic together. And if we can't trust each other, who can we trust? So that is reflecting in business today. And digitization is just an enabler. Digitization is only as good as how you think it can transform your business. And I've seen businesses transform themselves. I've seen businesses maintain status quo. But three things, if all businesses can take away and work on digitization, there's just three things. The first is, how do people interact with each other today? And not just virtual conferencing, but I'm talking about how usefully are you using the tools that are available at your disposal? Second, how good is your infrastructure? So like for me as a technologist, I have 3 failovers implemented at home. I still have network issues. So, how do you size your infrastructure? How do you make yourself digital ready? And of course, the third one is that what is the ROI that your organization is expecting from digitization? And it's very, very important to ask this question of yourself, that when you begin a digital journey, what is the ROI that you expect? I think the gratification that I've had in 2020 is that people are seriously asking us these questions. They don't see ODEX just as a tool to get an invoice or a delivery order, but they're going further and asking that, okay, you're doing this for shipping lines, you're doing this for some ports. Can you do this for a forwarder? Can you do this for a CHA? We are no longer seen as a threat to any of the businesses that we serve, any of the community members that we serve. And I think that for me has been the greatest achievement in 2020, that we have been accepted as a part of this community. And thank you, Nisa, for reinforcing that. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Liji. There's one thing that I wanted to ask you, and I'm a little curious about it, purely from a layman's point of view. People are going into this, as you rightly pointed out, that the Seaway BL has suddenly picked up a lot of momentum compared to, the earlier practices of a physical original bill of lading that was being taken. Do you see going forward, in the digitalized world, a possibility where one could probably completely do away with with things like an original bill of lading, where probably a concept where the shipping lines will directly send it to online to the banks discount it, and against that the consignee gets delivery of his consignment because it goes to the discharge port, etc. So that not only is it going to be more swift, but it probably, and I'm sure it's going to be, if possible, most certainly free from any misuse or fraudulent practices. So do you see a possibility of the industry moving in that direction, or is there any thought of the digital operators to consider this kind of a possibility and sell the idea and probably take it forward? Do you see that happening?
I do. In fact, a lot of shipping lines today have invested heavily in the electronic BL solutions, and so also blockchain solutions. The only challenge that I see there, again, is going to be interoperability. It's a very common term that we have in IT. It's very simple. I have shipping line ABC using platform X for an electronic BL. I have shipping line LMN using platform Y for electronic BL. And the guy who really requires it, who's either the BCO or the cargo owner or the bank, needs to either integrate with both X and Y, so different platforms for different shipping lines, or have different logins and passwords. The way I see it would be that there has to be either an interoperability amongst the providers of electronic BLs, or the banks need to have certain standards which the electronic BL operator can just copy and say that, okay, here is my standard API that is given by XYZ bank. And it doesn't matter, I have one provider or 10 providers. You can send it to one particular bank. Or you have a pipe or a single platform where everybody just connects together. It is possible. In fact, it is reality. I see that even in India, about 5 to 8% people are preferring an electronic BL. So you already have the large corporates like a Reliance who have moved into electronic BL. I see Vedanta, ABB using it very extensively. What is taking time is the cost sometimes of getting onto a blockchain or an electronic BL solution, or the sheer ignorance of how it actually works. And I'm a dreamer. I actually think that, do we really even need the BL? And I have been privileged to have a few friends in the shipping industry, and they obviously told me the story of how a BL originated and why it was so vital, because it was the master's guarantee that your goods are going to reach the right person. Having said that, in a connected world, do we really need that? It's something that I lose sleep over, because if I were to tell somebody from shipping and I'm putting it on this forum. I'm sure I'm going to get shot very soon. But yes, it's a question to ask ourselves, because today we are looking at cryptocurrencies, which are world currencies. So is there a way that, it could be a singular BL, which is issued by a standard authority? You already have it in the airlines industry. Will somebody like a DCSA be able to pick it up and set up these standards over the next few years? It should be an interesting thing. And we, for one, I'm very excited about it, saying that wait and watch. And if DCSA were to come up with some kind of standards of that sort, I would want ODX to be there as part of providing such solutions.
Good. I think even Sashi seems to have lost contact. But anyway, I'll come back to Jacob on this issue. The government of India, I think, is investing heavily into infrastructure, be it the road network, be it the railways, even the inland waterways, all of which are aimed at a connectivity to the gateway ports. And once these things happen, not only will the efficiency of cargo moving into the ports improve, but what is more important is probably it will encourage others to get into the line of the EXIM trade. So there will be a lot of the pockets of exporters and importers spread out across the country, which is not yet the case, though it has expanded fairly significantly. It is not yet the case. Now, when you are going to have this kind of a possible encouragement and a surge in volumes, etc., do you think terminals in India are all geared up for it? Or there would be requiring a massive changeover themselves? And I'm speaking this even whilst I know that the government is encouraging more and more new ports, which means the availability of a port is getting nearer and nearer. So how do you see this going forward, Jacob?
Yeah, just and Deepa will remember I joined the maritime seminar yesterday with the CEO forum, and it is quite clear that we still have a bottleneck. We still have a shortage of infrastructure, whether you're talking containers, whether you're talking LPG or others, just an ordinary break bulk. So my comment yesterday was that we are surely not lacking to know what we need to do. The question is, how are we going to get it done? How are we going to get it funded? How are we going to get it planned and coordinated and executed? And that is really, that's why I think it's so exciting to be in Pipavav, because we do have a lot of good plans, and we are working on, I would say, the next 5 years to expand. As I mentioned, I have a few more things to share. We are upgrading our LPG jetty to be able to accommodate VLGC carriers. We are looking at bringing in the DFC all the way to CY. I mentioned already the multimodal Distipark, but we are actually also trying to establish a special economic zone and attract more industries around the port in an ecosystem, exactly what you are saying. So, but what we're trying to do is to say, how do we get the CapEx approved? How do we get this not only permissions, but how do we attract investors, including our own parent company, but certainly also we are open for other investors. Because there's a lot of good ideas, but they have to be bankable and people have to believe it. What I'd like to do is basically, I don't think we can solve everything in Pipavav, but what I'd like to do is to become a good example of how things can be done. And then I hope everybody could take inspiration, and we can serve as a lead in how we transform ourselves. And it's not only just to build, but it is with this green environment in mind as well. Because what we would like to be known for is really to be Gujarat Green Gateway. It is a lot of green around Pipavav at the moment because we are very rural area, but I am thinking about this transformation. It's not only digital, it is digital, but it's also opening up for some opportunities on the environmental front. It'll take time. But it'll take planning and it'll take will. And again, I'm very encouraged about the DFC because I think that's going to be a driving factor for a lot of this transformation that's going to be happening. No, we have plenty of things to do, so we can just roll up our sleeves and get going. I'm not worried about getting out of a job in the many years to come.
Jacob, you did, when you were speaking to us in the first instance, you did mention about the fundamentals or the principles to be followed as per the guideline which Mr. Swaroop had read out. And after hearing you speak, I felt that Mr. Swaroop's, the ideas that were given, whilst it's very much valid, probably we must add one more thing to it: serve lunch packets.
Everybody knows that the way to a person's heart, that goes through the stomach. And what we are really trying to do in Pipavav is we are getting all the brains in the games, but we also want to get all the hearts in the game, because I want to, get the passion going. And we're talking about our front end colleagues. We probably never spoken to them before in the way that we did last year. We started last year, and it was, as I brought forward, it is about, we care actually whether you are going to survive. We're going to make sure that you're safe. We want to make sure that you don't get COVID, and we want to make sure that you have food and the basic necessities. So don't run away. Let's be in this together. And by the way, you are essential services, and you are keeping India's supply chain going. I tell you what, when you're talking to some, I don't think very highly educated people, but you tell them that they really matter and they do a difference, they grow much bigger. Absolutely. And they appreciate that they are being acknowledged. Nobody likes to be ignored, but when you start asking, how do you think we can do things better? How do you think, and I can guarantee you, they've been doing things for years, and they've been thinking, how stupid is this? But I'm just going to do it because they're telling me to do it. Now, if you can open up that, I think it's an untapped gold mine for ideas, and this is bottom up. Ligi can support us with IT, and the railway operators can support us with more efficient trains and stuff like that. But it's got to be a full circle, and you got to win over the hearts and minds of everybody in the port. Because when we are pulling all together in the same direction, it's a formidable force.
Rama, I have a point to clarify from you. Whilst the railways through the government of India has done massive expansion programs, and the biggest talk of the day is the DFC, and everybody's looking forward to it. How do you see the challenges that are going to be posed to you as far as the road network is concerned? And let me tell you that the kind of investment that is going in the development of highways, etc., is probably second to none. Whilst terminals like Pipavav and others would be licking their fingers because they realize that it's going to come and pouring in from all directions in every which way possible. But as a train operator, how do you see this dichotomy that is there, existing between the two? I mean, do you see it as an opportunity gained, or do you see as a situation where you're going to be challenged?
That's a very relevant question, Neil, which you asked me. What will happen when the DFCs and also the modern trailers, which we are talking about? A modern trailer is not a trailer of yesteryears, which used to just carry 220s or 140. This is an aluminium bed trailer which can carry up to 60 tons. And the roads which they are applying are not made of bitumen. They are made of plastic material funded by World Bank. And you have a minister who was just an expert in only making roadways and highways. That was ex-chief minister and now a road transport minister. So do we see it as a challenge? I see it as an opportunity that we as a multi-modal transport operator, which I myself call it And when we are talking about an integrated logistics, it's the success of a double stack or a train operation, including a metro, would always depends upon a first mile and a last mile. How efficient your first mile and last mile would be. We are in an era where we are talking from door to door, B2B kind of thing, wherein a shipper, consignee, a trader is expecting us to boil down to what is his cost, how much on an international arena when comparison to another country, the goods. So the onus is on us. So as I said, the truckers will complement the train operators, the train operator will complement the trucker, and the ports will complement. So as Jacob was talking about, it's the total ecosystem which grows together. Neither can exist without each other. So you're going to see, as I said, this might be news that the aluminum trailers are on the way. The huge capacity, the roads are going to stay, they're going to be sustained, and they're going to give, when a DFC train can reach in 48 hours. So as well, you can imagine how efficient the transporters has to be, with real two double drivers, and the safety of the material as well. On a rail, on a DFC rail, I can guarantee you that you are as safe, as your cargo is as safe as you are in your sedan. So you can imagine. So safety, and again, it coexists, and then it is not a worry, and it actually, you see that many of transporters would be our vendors, the transporters, and we would be their vendors as a train operators for long haul. We are the big daddies, and for the short haul, probably they will be our partners. Yes.
I think that's a very good, matured way of putting it across. And I think, yeah, one must look at it as partners in business than competitors in business. And that makes a lot of difference to the trade as a whole. Unfortunately, Vivek has not been able to connect, but Sashi, are you in? Sashi? Sashi, you're on mute. Are you in? I think he's still having problems. No, he seems to be facing a challenge. Anyway, I do not know if there are any questions from those who have been watching this evening's proceedings, but I'll just check with the Secretary Nisa. Shashi, are you back? No, I don't.
No, I think he still is facing some internet issues.
Right.
Meantime, there are about 4 questions that has been given by the participants. I think the first one was given by Mr. Jacob, probably to Mr. Sanjay Swarup or to Mr. Ramakrishna, requesting for free empty repositioning during these hard times. So that is one thing that you can look into. You have anything to say on this?
Thank you, Sridhar. That question was for me.
It was an open question, and probably it is directed towards the rail operator, to the CTOs.
Oh, in fact, it's not only us, Jacob. You would be delighted to know that there were some phases where the where the railways have waived us, any charges. I mean, they allowed us to move empty flats, and they have also allowed us on a subsidy to carry empty containers, which we straight away and right away have passed it on to all the shipping lines, and because there was a huge imbalance of a 20 and 40. So we've been bringing in 20s from the ports and sending in 40s out, and we also have added value by giving in a cabotage cargo in ISO containers, whichever lines have agreed to do it. And we also have utilized the ISO containers on a coastal, if not inland way waterways. So that was also east to west, west to east, we've been hauling some ISO containers that have really helped all the shipping lines a lot. In fact, we have FAQ rates time and again. NISA with CFSI and others are well informed, so they keep us on toast. So we don't keep it anything. We always pass it on whatever it is, and yes. Whatever rail charge for empties, we especially are hand in glove with shipping lines, and we work in tandem with them whenever the disbalance is there.
Thank you, Rama. Kumara sir, you're on mute.
Jacob, I hope Ramakrishna's answer has been clarified to you and you're fine with it? Or is there anything you want to ask me?
I complimented Concor and all the other operators for doing the empty positioning for free during the crisis. We had a fantastic experience where we had the Maersk Sana 8,000 TEU vessel that came in. I think actually it's a bigger vessel. It came in with 8,000 40-footers empty. We unloaded the ship, and all the empties were first of all repaired and made into a clean condition. A railway all the way to Jamnagar to our large customer over there, Reliance. And in the meantime, the vessel went out for anchor. And we felt sorry for the guys on board the ship while they were waiting. So we sent out fresh mangoes from the season in Gujarat. So that was really a delight. And again, thinking of people. But then the containers returned again full, and they were exported to China. So that was just one of many such success stories that I think is going to be remembered also in 2020. But I like the other comment that was said, is that it's the entire ecosystem. I'm fully agreeing that we would like to see the road network upgraded, just like we'd like to have the internet upgraded, but everything complements each other. I think, again, when the DFC gets started, it's going to give all the other factors a run for the money. And back to your own point, Gumalaji, we need to build some more infrastructure. We need to upgrade capacity. There's no doubt, because demand is going to be there. My key issue is, again, okay, let's not talk about pies in the sky, but we need to find out, how do we get it done? And I know my job is challenging sometimes, because whenever I come with a good idea, and I have many, but I need to get the board to approve and to give me the money. And therefore, I need to give the context of why we want to expand, why we want to do this, why we want to do that. So the story is really building. And I do believe, as was also said earlier today, that it is happening in India. And when we see a better competitive index in the supply chain, we not only fight about the same cake, we will grow the cake, and we will take global market share, and demands will continue to rise. So it's just to get going. It's not as easy as I make it sound right now, but because, as I said, a lot of convincing is to be done as well. But we would like to have Pipavav Port to become a good example, a good pilot project for how things could be done.
Thanks, Jacob. For the moment, I will only prompt you that summer months are fast approaching. I would probably want to share my address, and maybe the mango basket can come here as well. I think Vivek is connected. Hi. Sridhar, I will tell you to keep a pause on the questions. Vivek is connected. Shashi seems to have been connected. Now, before they get disconnected again, let's quickly take in Vivek. You heard what I had to say earlier, Vivek?
Yeah, you had a brief introduction, and then I lost the net. So okay. Then if there was any specific that you wanted me to cover, then I
just to tell how well you all take advantage of the small packages and make them to really an impactful,
in context of the
requirement.
pandemic.
Yes, but how has 2020 been, and how do you see yourself going forward?
Okay, so thank you, Neil, and my apologies to everybody here for the pause
Mr. Vivek,
due
Mr.
to
Vivek,
the net
perhaps you can
connectivity.
switch off your video. Switch off your video.
No,
We have
it's,
seen.
Yeah,
it's
it'll help in the
better now.
connectivity.
Okay. Is it better now? I mean, are you able to hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So as I was mentioning, there are a few things that I wanted to highlight here. Firstly, about 2020, a lot of speakers before me have said quite a few things, and I would agree with all of them. And it has been a year to remember. And I would just like to mention that to re-quote Rama when he quoted Churchill about never waste a good crisis. So, but when do you end up not wasting a good crisis? Is only when you're prepared for the crisis. I think that's what is most important. And I think technology plays a very important role. I did miss Niji's comments because I was off the net. Technology can really, in today's context, especially in the pandemic, make or break an organization. And we have seen that organizations which have been technology advanced are the only organizations who have been able to grow during the pandemic times. So just quick some observations. Firstly, we need to understand what the changes that have happened. So I will talk in broad to begin with. I'll spend a couple of minutes on that, and then I'll come specifically to what Team Global has done. So coming back to the pandemic. So yes, is the new normal, and that's an often stated statement which everybody is happy to make. But we need to understand as to what is that new normal, and we really need to understand the changes that have taken place in the business environment. And what are those changes? Firstly, the business has become now more process oriented than people oriented. Because what happened is, when you don't have people managing the show, physically be present, there's a lot of things that people got physically done when they were at their workplace or where they were, and they control a lot of things. Now that human intervention is not available. So how do you control, the business? How do you control your business transactions? How do you ensure that the right service deliveries happen? And that can only happen through process. So we have, that's, I think, change number one is we have shifted from, it was always said that you need to have better processes, but now it is just confirmed that you need to have only the organization with better processes will survive and have done well, and that we have seen that. So less people, more process. Another thing that has happened is is less paper and more screens. So all of a sudden, everything that was being physically handled has moved on to has shifted to digitally. So these are the two major changes which have happened. Now, what has that necessitated is the skills that are required. You require people to understand technology, understand processes, who can be more effective, in the new paradigm. I think that is number one. And your organization now needs to be more data driven. So these are the changing consequences of the digitalization that's happening as we speak. And then what we also need to see is that how, as organizations, we need to balance in the new. Now, what is this balance? The balance is in terms of managing people. What happened was, there is people, can be better managed through human-to-human interaction. Now, managing people without human interaction is a challenge, and that's the balance which all the organizations are currently facing. And what has happened is, because of intensive use of technology, that is everything being screen-based now, you require a little bit of an extra manpower to do the same thing what you did when you were physically present. Because the engagement with the screen, when you're physically present, you're engaging with 10 people, but when you're interacting through a screen, you can only do one meaningful interaction. So your bandwidth then gets limited to that particular moment with that particular person at that particular time. So that's the balance which the organizations need to strike at when it is coming to managing people. These are the changes. And talking specifically about our organization, Team Global Logistics, that we have always been very focused and for use of technology. So much before the pandemic came in, we were always offering online delivery order, online bill of lading. And one of the important things that we had done, was making our entire payment processes, workflow based, and that too paperless. So during pandemic, we never really had a problem, taking, because LCL consolidation business entails interacting with multiple vendors, namely the shipping lines, mainly the CFS operators, mainly the transport companies, mainly our customers. So we are interacting with multitude of agencies while in this particular business, and that is just not possible without having effective use of technology. So we did so all those processes helped us when we got onto the exact during the pandemic times. So, and that also really helped us interact and connect better with customers, have a better service delivery, and of course that also helped in increasing our business. Now the learning, I would close by saying that what in a post-pandemic world, or the pandemic is not yet over, but we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. How are things shaping up, and what is going to be the differentiation? The differentiation here is going to be how an organization meets its service deliveries. So what has happened is, because there are a lot of things are uncertain in today's context. There are no. I mean, when I'm talking for movement of goods, there's a shortage of equipments, there's a shortage of space, and you still need to meet your commitment to your end customers as a 3PL operator, as a 4PL operator, as a just a plain freight forwarder. How do you do that? So that means you need to have better, and you can only achieve that through better data visibility, better control of data, better predictability, having a proper planning, and all this put together, ensuring that you meet your customers' expectations in terms of service delivery. So there are various things. In the earlier context, you really didn't have to depend on data. You really didn't have to depend on process. You really didn't have to plan much to ensure that the service deliveries are made. Now all these things, will go or are going in a big way into meeting your service deliverables. So that is one big learning. And second learning is that who is driving the narrative today? The narrative is being driven by the service providers, as in the carriers. After the carriers have consolidated, we have limited carriers to deal with. These limited carriers are much more technologically advanced. They're using technology, very proficiently, and they are driving the way customer interacts with them. So we need to understand as to what are these carriers, in which direction they are moving. How do we adapt ourselves? How do we bring ourselves? How do we increase our individual technology quotient as a service provider to the carrier, be it like a terminal operator or as a freight forwarder who are dealing with them, as a 3PL operator, as a rail operator. So everywhere across the spectrum, the interaction between business to business, is driven by technology, and that narrative is being driven by the carriers, and that's where we need to up our ante and meet those challenges as we move ahead in time. So that's these are 2 cents from my side. Neil, and over to you. Back to you.
Thanks, Vivek. Very insightful indeed. Jacob, I think I saw a message from you saying that you need to rush. I believe you've got a flight to take. Yeah. Okay.
And it's raining here in Jakarta, so I'm fearing the lack of infrastructure and the flooding and the roads gonna be jammed up. But anyway, as I said, I will stay for the remaining 11 minutes. Then I have to run sharp.
Feel free to exit whenever you.
I just want to comment though on Vivek here, because I fully agree what you said, Vivek, and I think it is also about this people empowerment, because there's not much you can do when people are working remotely. in principle, they can do whatever they like, right? Or they can not do what you like them to do. But you have to trust that they do their job. And I think we've been tremendously positively surprised, or maybe reconfirmed that we have the right people, and we might as well give them a lot more authority to deal with it. Ajay Verma is sitting here smiling now, but I really appreciate that, that people step up to it, and I think that's what you, Vivek, that's what you tried to say as well, along with the, of course, capabilities of digitalization and so on. But it's really up to people themselves, and I'm very proud of the team here in 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to add to your words, the very fact that the industry per se, almost in unison, has been performing well, only goes to show that the people who are associated with it from top to bottom have been a pretty dedicated lot, which is why the wheels of the entire industry is moving and moving well, Anyway, thanks, Jacob. Sashi, you're fine now?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, and I can see you also.
Yeah, thank you.
Sashi, I will not take much time, and because just in case your connectivity issues come up again, you've heard all the panelists, and I was in fact wanting to bring you in the last to give us a write out about the shipping industry. So the man of the moment, Sashi, your views.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are running a bit late, so I will try to make it fast. Because of the internet capabilities, we had delayed our schedule. Anyway, just to repeat, I am Shashi Nair. I am Vice President of NISA, and on professional front, I am working for CMA CGM Group as a Senior Area General Manager for North India. Today, we are talking on the topic reshaping shipping and logistics for a post-pandemic world. I would like to take it through 4 points. One is that what are the difficulties and challenges faced by shipping and logistics companies during the peak period of COVID pandemic? 2, how these companies adopted and adjusted to tackle the situation. 3, what is the lesson the companies learned? And 4, the main topic, how we can reshape shipping and logistics for a post-pandemic world. On the first point, what are the difficulties and challenges faced by shipping and logistics companies during the peak period of COVID pandemic? As we all know, India and global trade were struggling to operate and continue businesses during the COVID-19 lockdown. This was the case for almost all industries across the world. Further, post-relaxation of lockdowns, the shipping and logistics companies witnessed sudden surge in demand, global shortage of shipping containers, congested seaports, capacity constraints on vessels, service rationalizations, optimization, trade imbalance, repeated lockdown across countries time to time, local transportation, intermodal issues, shortage of laborer, delays in custom clearance, slowdown of economy, and these are the biggest challenges the shipping lines face and still continue to endure. The ocean transportation sector is yet to overcome the ripple effects created by these factors, even as we move into the new quarter of a new year. Second, how these companies adopted and adjusted to tackle the situation. Strong customer support with availability of employees 24/7 to support customers really helped to tackle the situation. Work from home criteria really helped and supported business continuity plan. Virtual internal and external meetings have become a usual practice. Majority of the companies adopted digital solutions to perform operations without or with minimal intervention. Solutions such as paperless BLs, online delivery orders, electronic payment options, online pricing, booking, etc. have become widely adopted and popular during this period. Now the third point, what is the lesson the companies learned? The industry has learned that work from home is a new normal of this time. This scenario also proved sincerity, honesty, reliability, and commitment of employees to their organization to large extent. The pandemic has shown how important are digitalization and eliminating paperwork in the shipping logistics industry. Increased digitalization has also come with increased cybersecurity risks, another aspect the companies will need to pay more attention in coming days. You might recall various cyber attacks happened during the pandemic time and overall in year 2020 and still continue. Container shipping lines have learned the hard way to expect the unexpected, yet find way to run the business with innovative and agile actions. Now, finally, the topic of this event, reshaping shipping and logistics for a post-pandemic world. The shipping industry is eyeing to provide one-stop solution to its customers by providing continual improvement and innovative services. Adoption of digital platforms will further change the shipping industry outlook in 2021. Digitalizing the maritime sector set to boost the competitiveness and resilience of global trade. One of the key lessons learned early in the pandemic was the need to ensure business continuity of the critical supply lines, notably the maritime gateway ports and the associated logistical chains. Digitalization is vital to improve the competitiveness of the supply chain. Work from home criteria will continue to selective departments and staffs or rotation basis where the overall efficiency and output can be better with cost effectiveness too. The problem with container shortage and high demand for space on vessels will most likely not recover until late 2021 as demand and supply is taking time to balance. However, trade imbalance and related challenges will systematically subside over the months, creating a better environment for all business. Despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, digitalization continues to influence the industry. Companies will continue to invest in new technologies and automation to ensure speed, accuracy, and safety. New global initiatives like TradeLens have already commenced, though in a small manner at the moment. Indian government is also striving to improve adoption of its PCS, Port Community System, and try to integrate all stakeholders in single platform to achieve better efficiency. It is important to highlight that all stakeholders will have to adopt to required change in business practices once SCMT, that is Sea Cargo Manifest and Transshipment Regulations, is live. For example, strict timelines for documentation, maintain accuracy of shipping instructions, submissions, etc. With the commencement of DFC, Dedicated Freight Corridor, North India trade will be highly benefited with faster, safer, and cost-effective intermodal solution between ICD hinterlands and ports. As you might be aware, operation already commenced on selective routes on the DFC. Also, other key government projects to further develop inland waterways and coastal shipping will support shipping and logistics sector to large extent. With the recent announcement, container manufacturing facilities too will be opened up in India in coming days. Apart from all these, many other initiatives, policies, and vision of Government of India for the maritime and logistics sector will definitely support this cause, creating level playing field for all. Strategic planning and execution will be essential for best use of resources and profitability. With expertise developed and lessons learned during the past, shipping and logistics industry will bounce back with all necessary tools and solutions to tackle any situations in the future. All the best wishes. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Sashi.
Thank you.
Fortunately, the connectivity hung in there.
Okay.
Okay, quickly, Sridhar, are you there? Sridhar, any other questions?
Yes. Yeah, in fact, we have just received a suggestion from Mr. Ashwini Nair, and is requesting NISA to take up the request for reprieve on empty haulage should be addressed by NISA to Ministry of Railways and Ministry of Commerce. He says that the railways had given concessions which have since been withdrawn. On account of the current imbalance and container shortage, there is definitely a case to seek extension or resumption of this particular facility. So maybe Captain Mishra can take this forward with the MOR and the MOC. Captain, your views on this?
Yeah, okay, got it, noted. Well noted, Sajid. Sridhar, well noted.
Okay. Maybe we can take it up when we make our the details of this webinar and submit it to the respective ministries. This particular point can also be addressed, tabled, right? I think this specific question from one of the participants is for Ms. Liji Noval. Is asking, do you see trend lens help overcome the challenge of mass usage of EBL?
Yes, I would definitely say so, because TradeLens is probably the largest initiative that the industry has seen on electronic BL. Though, like Shashi sir did mention that it is in its initial stages, but I see it should be an interesting watch over the next 2 years, and we should see a lot more from electronic BL, not just from TradeLens, but also other electronic BL providers. Definitely.
Thank you. This particular question is open to the panelists. I think one of the panelists is for the speakers. One of the panelists asking, one of the participants asking for draft logistics policy, the status of the draft logistics policy, and what 5 measures logistics sector is wishing for reducing logistics cost to common man by 5%. So, what are the measures for reducing the logistics cost?
Well, maybe this, to be very frank with you, I think all players are party to this possibility of it happening or not happening. I would ask first, Sashi, how does he see, the shipping industry contributing in the request of the questionnaire, and is it possible?
I hope efforts from all stakeholders can definitely contribute with respect to shipping lines, capacity deployment in line with the requirements, and minimize the equipment idling, equipment supply uninterrupted, where the containers can be made available for customers as early as possible, where the movement can happen fast. That will definitely help the logistics cost. In the similar manner, all other stakeholders, whether it is rail operator, road operator, the government of India initiatives, the faster custom clearance, I think all these will contribute to an effective reduction in the logistics cost, which is a key project the government is talking about from last 5 years now, 6 years now, to reduce the logistics cost. I think each stakeholder contribute from their perspective. I think we will be able to achieve a phenomenal improvement in this particular aspect. And also, like I mentioned in my, like many of you have mentioned regarding the DFC coming up, the national highways improving, and all these things will contribute actually. And on the front of shipping and logistics fraternity, we have high dependence on exporters and importers as well. They also need to plan their supply chain, their materialized merchandise ready, so that the faster turnaround will happen. When the import consignments comes, faster clearance of the cargo and taking the ownership of the cargo, making the container free. I think all this will contribute to have an effective system where the logistics cost can be reduced and our country can again improve the ranking in the coming years.
Absolutely, Sashi. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I was also of the same opinion that it's not just the shipping lines and the service providers. Whilst efficiency in operations are a continuous process and will yield results, but I think the end users, be it the exporter or the importers, have also got to improve their efficiency to have an overall impact and cost reduction in total logistics. This concept of free time, from 14 days, 21 days, etc., is a never-ending process. The more, nothing comes for free. Let's be very honest. Mm-hmm. So if you ask for certain things to be made flexible, they also come at a price. So this is something which I think the end users must also understand, that they are not outside the industry. They are very much with the industry, with us. So if we all get around together, surely the overall impact and efficiency and cost benefits will be distributed evenly all across the board. Anybody else? Rama, would you like to add anything to it?
Yes, Neil, in fact, for me, there are basically 3 or 4 takeaways. One is bringing this national logistics policy, making it appeal to all the states. I mean, when it's a national logistics policy, you need to have a warehousing policy which appeals to all states. It should not sound different in different states. One, bringing in fuel into the gamut of GST. Third, bringing in land policy. The civil access policy and land policy, which would give us a levy field,
Level playing field
for all the players. This ways, and yes, by this ways, and then providing the end user, the shippers, the incentives to be much faster. I mean, whether it is IGST, whether it is an incentive, it needs to be equally panned in all the states. You need to have the same kind of incentives flowing in state of UP and state of Haryana as well, so that the balance and the export import balance is maintained. So these are a few takeaways, and I guess I've got a chance to go to the national logistics policy. It has gone for 2-3 cuts, and finally, when it would be out, I think we are expecting that these things will be addressed. That's from me.
Thank you, Rama. I think we are. Vivek, please.
Yeah, there's one more reform I would like to add to the list, which Rama just mentioned. I think the labor reforms, because labor is one of the important component that goes into handling cargo, and I think that we have been waiting, and the government also wants to do, but there's a lot of pressures from the trade unions. I think that's another area, Rama, if I can take the liberty of adding to your list of things that need to be done along with the national logistics policy, is also put the labor reforms.
Agree, Vivek. Couldn't agree more with you.
And Vivek has done a wonderful job in Amtoy, even with the skilling thing as well. The incentives for skilling and should also be given. And also, when you're talking about moving your fuel, getting into a greener pastures, you need to complement people by giving carbon green credits as well. The way it happens abroad, you as rightly said, nothing. When you're asking somebody to perform, you need to incentivize, you need to honor them also. So with the green credits, that would be a great initiative that drives people to go for alternative fuel.
I think we have run completely out of time.
There is one more. There's one more small. I know. It's a suggestion, come a question. Regarding the sea cargo manifestation and transshipment regulation. The question here is though the trial period is now happening, but from 1st of April, it might be, up and running. So is the trade ready to accept such a change? And it seems that we need to jointly, update the trade, especially exporters and freight forwarders, for these changes. So how ready are we?
Sridhar, honestly, day in, day out, we've been struggling. In fact, ATP, ACU, the government has rolled it out, and I'm sure that this time, the deadline, they're not going to, extend it. It's going to be 1st of April, just like how it happened with GST. And I completely support, the more time given to us, the more lethargic we grow. So SCMT is a way forward. Vijay will agree with me that this is the one tool which gives complete visibility of how the patterns of cargo and where and how transshipment is happening. And this is a great tool for us when you're talking about handling data. And data is going to be the future. Data analytics is the thing. And the government wants to see where the flow is, how the flow is of the patterns with the CMTR. So I don't think so. From 1st of April, the government is very serious on it, and we've been on the job. Probably it's a matter of time. Within fortnight, the industry will fall in line.
Okay, thank you, Rama. I think there's one last suggestion that one of the participants has said. is requesting for, this is more directed towards the shipping lines, where they say shipping lines should open up the IGM code for all the ICDs that have been authorized by the government. If the government has permitted to open an ICD or a CFS, shipping lines should also endeavor to open up a code and service that particular ICD. Any shipping lines, if you have anything to say on this?
Sachi?
I would like to comment on this. Actually, it is all the business dynamics a particular facility has, which suits the requirement of a specific line. I think that business dynamics automatically lead to creation of a code for a particular facility. With mushrooming of ICDs, especially in NCR in northern region, what I can understand is that, yes, there are certain shipping lines very liberal on their approach on opening up the codes, but they are very reluctant because they find it difficult to manage their inventory pool, cost criteria and everything, because more and more are coming actually. I think we need to leave this. The suggestion is well noted and it is appreciable. However, I think we need to leave the decision to the individual shipping line depending upon their business dynamics and merits. That is the comment I can give.
We cannot afford to have a common platform policy to be followed. But anyway, anything else, Sridhar?
No, I think that's all from the participants. No more questions. If any participant has got any question, you can please write it to my ID, that is sccy@nisa.co.in, and we will be more than happy to reply.
Well, thank you, everybody, the panelists. It was a pleasure talking to each one of you. We've had some real insightful discussions and contributions from everybody, barring the few hiccups with the connectivity, but fortunately we all made it. And I will now hand it over to the Secretary NISA for the concluding proceedings. Thank you once again. It was a pleasure to moderate the evening's event.
Thank you, Gumala sir. Thank you so much, Gumala sir. Respected Mr. Sanjay Swarup, Director, International Marketing and Operations, Captain Mishra, President NISA, distinguished speakers and panelists, and our most valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. All things have to come to an end, and here we are at the end of today's webinar. I have been assigned the task of giving the vote of thanks. Let me begin by wishing all of you a very fruitful and glorious financial year 2021-22. I, on behalf of Northern India Steamer Agents Association and the entire shipping fraternity, thank one and all present here in this online platform. It was a wonderful evening indeed. We shall cherish the memory of this webinar for a very long time to come, considering the circumstances of pandemic forcing us to hold this NBF in an online mode. Of course, this webinar will help us in taking forward the cause of this industry with greater enthusiasm and fervor. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the distinguished guests present here and their support to NISA. It is indeed a matter of pride and privilege. I thank the panelists and speakers for the wonderful discussions that has paved way for NISA to take forward the various issues faced by our fraternity. We thank you for being with us this evening. It's been a great pleasure. I also thank Mr. Neelkan Gumala for the brilliant moderation during the discussions. Recommendations of his session is well noted and same will be taken up with the related ministries and departments and endeavor to resolve the same for the benefit of the trade. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our sincere thanks to our esteemed associate partners for the support they have extended to us at NISA Business Forum. Finally, I also extend my thanks to Mr. Sudhir Nambiar of India Sea Trade and his vibrant team for the perfect logistic support, guidance, enormous cooperation extended for this event. Last but not the least, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the members of NISA for their valuable support all through these years. With these few lines, I sign off for the day and wishing everyone a very healthy year ahead. Let's hope to meet in a physical mode next year and very soon. Sayonara. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of all our panelists, I would take the opportunity to congratulate Nisa, to yet organizing a very successful webinar. Sridhar, as usual, you've been great as a secretary, organizing, chasing everybody. And Captain Mishra, you set the tone. And Gumala, as usual, you are at the best. What you do. And Shashi has really broken it down of the way he has taken it over stepwise. I wish I could present it that way. Great things. And Vivek has brought in the kind of wisdom with kind of warehousing in LCM. Thank you very much. It was always a pleasure to attend and also be speaking on NISA forum, which is the sorted forum for our trade. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you
everybody.
soon. See you soon next year.
Bye-bye.
In physical mode.
Yes.
Wish you a very happy and healthy 2021.
With the
Thank
5G
you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.